Right. Our next topic is file operations in FORTRAN. So when you have huge amounts of data, you'll have to store it in a file, and if the data source is different, I mean if it is generated from another system, you may have to carry it through a file. So in that case, we need some mechanism to read data from file and write data into file. Okay, so here the basic syntax for that file operations is this. So in read-write statements, so let's say the unit number is unit 5 and unit 6 are reserved for keyboard and monitor. So in write statement or read statement we are using star comma star, right? So here the first star stands for location and second star stands for format. I mean what kind of data you are trying to write, like integer, or if it is a real number, how many decimal points you are considering. All these things can be controlled using the second star. I mean here the star stands for default value. So if you specify it, you can specify it over there. Okay, so now let us try to confirm this unit 5 and 6. Okay, so let's say just reading two numbers from the keyboard and writing it back to the monitor. So here we are confirming whether the input unit is 5 and output unit is 6 or not. Okay, so now we try to write the data into a new file and read the data from it. Okay, so for that, let's say I'm starting with this. Let's say I would like to read array of 5 numbers, and there are two such variables, a and b. So I have to write these 5 numbers in row 1 and next 5 numbers in row 2 in a file. Okay. As for that, first of all I have to read the data into that. So what shall I do? Open unit, this number we need to specify, and that should be other than 516, any number other than 516. I take unit 10 and I have to give the file name, and the status. Status new. Everything in a single line. Check if you are crossing the limit of 72. So I am creating a new file with the name data.txt. And into that I need to write whatever variables that are storing into those variables a and b, or otherwise I can directly write the data entered by user into the file. So let's say instead of these variables, I'll try to write the data. Enter 5 numbers in 2 rows. So first 5 will be stored in array A and next 5 numbers will be stored in array B. Now I'd like to write them into the file. Here the options available for status are 3 options. Status could be new or old or unknown. Okay, so new stands for it creates a new file. So if any file exists already with that name, it gives an error. Okay, so new stands for new file will be created, and if the file exists, it gives an error. Old stands for already that file exists. I mean, you can read only. New file and write only. Whereas if you keep that option unknown, you can read or write. So if it is a new file, it is write only. If it is old file, it is read only. By default, if you keep the option unknown, it is read or write. So I can now close the file. So that the data is stored into that file now. So now I can open another file handle, or I can use the same unit number with the status old. So I am reading the data from the files into variable C and D and writing it back onto the monitor. So let's say I can even keep 6 here, otherwise star comma star. I can keep star comma star, and I have to close the file. This is 11. This is number 11. So the better option is to avoid all these confusions. Keep the status as unknown. So if the status is kept as unknown, both read and write operations can be performed. So you have kept status as new here. Here it is old, right? Right. So you read two arrays of variables from keyboard and wrote it into this file, and you started reading from the file row wise. I mean, if you have kept C comma D in a single row, you'd have got an error. because I mean if you open and check the file, you'll have 5 numbers in row 1, another 5 numbers in row 2, and if you try to read from single line, okay, it is okay, you won't get an error, it's okay. I mean if your data entirely is written into a single line and if you try to read in 2 lines, you may get an error. Like if at all change it to here, remove the second line and write everything into a single line, then read from 2 lines, you'll get an error. So before you go for these modifications, you have to remove the file. So in the DOS prompt, you have to type rm space data.txt. Otherwise, this new operation will not work because already file exists. You'll get an error. Okay, so you'll get an error. So whatever data format you are writing in, you must aware of, like whether you are writing it into single line or writing in 2 lines. So that formatting should be known before reading the data from the file. Okay, so now I'll do another operation. So I wrote 2 variables into the file and I have closed it, and I try to read this data from the file. Now I try to write one more line into the existing file. So what shall I write? I mean, since I have closed it already, otherwise open unit 10, file is equal to data.txt, status is unknown because I'm trying to write into an existing file. If I keep new, it will look for a new file. So I kept the status unknown. Then I write, if you want, you can give a new unit number, otherwise you can continue with that existing one, not a big deal. So write 10 comma, otherwise you can give a new number, not an issue, there is no compulsion. So write 13 comma star a plus b. So my third line should be whatever variable stored in a plus b. And check whether the data is being written to it or not. This is unit number 13. A plus 2 star B. So if you check, the file is overwritten. You'll be left with only 2 lines with a new data. And the new data is not entering as a additional line. When you open the file with a status unknown, earlier data will be removed. And whatever data you are writing again, it will be afresh written into the file. So to avoid that, you need to give an additional flag that after status unknown, you have to add one more access is equal to append. So unit number, file name, status unknown, access append. Then the existing data will remain as it is, and whatever you are trying to write will be added at the end of the file, end of the existing data. So this is an additional option. So whenever you reopen the file, if you want to keep the old data, you have to mention append. Otherwise, if you want to afresh write the new data, you just remove that append option. Okay. So other than that, reading data and writing data, for both the cases you can use that option unknown. Status unknown is used for simultaneous read and write operations. So these are the basic options available for reading data from file and writing data into a file in FORTRAN.